Happiness through curiosity on TRS Clips. I want to ask you about Afghanistan as well, because Afghanistan has a massive Pashtun population. That's where this whole Pashtunistan narrative is coming up in the modern day as well, that the Pashtuns in Afghanistan are brotherly with the Pashtuns in Pakistan.
They're the same ethnic stock.
It's as if you're taking people of the same religion and the same culture and dividing modern day West Bengal into northern West Bengal and southern West Bengal. That's a sort of equivalent.
Well, in a very crude way. But, but the Pashtuns, you see, the Pashtuns were able to consolidate themselves under Ahmad Shah Durrani in 1757. Ahmad Shah Abdali. They became Durrani later on. And his territories were right up to Attock. He invaded India. So he consolidated the Pashtun area. His successors, and because the British had got into the act by then, so they in 1893 had this, what's called the Durand Line. And the Durand Line drew a line across the heart of the Pashtuns, leaving some in Afghanistan and bulk in the territory of then the British Empire.
What was the reason the line was created?
Because they wanted a settled border. You see, they had the settled districts, which was NWFP. Then there was these tribal areas, what then became the federally administered tribal areas called FATA. These were the tribes which were not under the British system. And they valued their independence. So much, like Waziristan, for example, almost 50% of the British army in India was stationed in Waziristan during the Second World War because they just couldn't control those tribes. The maximum number of expeditions were into Waziristan, North and South Waziristan. They couldn't control those tribes. So they wanted to demarcate that this side is Afghanistan and this side is British India.
What is modern day Waziristan?
It was part of one of the tribal districts, now part of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province.
Okay.
And Khyber Pakhtunkhwa was formerly the NWFP.
So when you talk about the British Raj and this Akhand Bharat map, the British were not able to actually take over all of Afghanistan, which is why Afghanistan is a separate country today.
Yeah.
And they didn't take over Afghanistan because...
They tried. The first Afghan war, if you remember, when 16,000 army had to change the Shah, they wanted to replace the Shah with their own nominee so that the Russian... You see, the big threat to the British Empire in India was a potential Russian invasion, which would then damage the jewel in the crown. So they wanted to make sure that Afghanistan would be a buffer state between the Russian Empire and the British Empire. And they wanted their own Amir over there. So this first Anglo-Afghan war, or the first Afghan war, an army of 16,000 went. Initially, they were successful. This has been a part of history throughout, that any army can easily invade Afghanistan. They can't retain it. In 2 years' time, only one British army officer survived and came riding into Jalalabad. And when he was asked, Major Bryant, when he was asked, where is the army of the Indus? He said, I am the army. He was only one, the Afghans had killed everybody else, and he was the one survivor. Similarly, in the Second Afghan War, the British, very successful initially, later on they had to beat a hasty retreat. And finally, in the Third Afghan War in the 1919s, Afghanistan was able to get back their foreign policy control under King Amanullah. And that's when Britain realized that, look, this is hamare bas ki baat nahi hai, let's leave it. So even the tribal areas. So to coming back, it was this, the Pashtuns, my fourth book is called The Pashtuns, A Contested History. I talk about Pashtuns on both sides of the Durand Line. And Pakistan's policy, again, we are moving much ahead, but Pakistan's policy towards Afghanistan is based on their insecurity that a strong government in Kabul will one day dispense with the Durand Line and claim territory up to Attock, that is up to Punjab. That, this whole area is a Pashtun area, as part of the territory of Ahmad Shah Durrani. If you ask an Afghan, a Pashtun, he will say, ek taraf Afghanistan, us taraf Hindustan, kahan se aaya Pakistan? And this misnomer of Afghan and Pashtun, the Persians used to referred to the Pashtuns as Afghan or Afghana. So Afghan and Pashtun is interchangeable as far as the Pashtuns are concerned. If you call them Afghan, Pashtun, it's the same thing. In India, they came to be called Pathans. But it's an interchangeable thing.
they're also really friendly dudes. That's what I was like. If you ever meet a Pashtun guy, always up for a conversation, very hospitable.
Yeah.
Very different. And I know that there is this ancient rivalry with Punjabis. Is that accurate? Is that an accurate statement?
It still is in Pakistan. It still is a Punjabi Pashtun, the tension, the ethnic tension. It's been moderated. There's a lot of now Pashtun army officers in the Pakistan army.
Okay.
Trade. Karachi is the largest Pashtun city, much more than Peshawar, Jalalabad, or Kabul, or Kandahar. So a lot of population has moved around, but yes, that ethnic rivalry sort of remains. Because, the Punjabi, because he's 52% of Pakistan's population, the arrogance, the swag, yeah. So he thinks he can dominate over everybody. Now, Pashtun is not a guy you want to push. There is a very famous Pashtun saying that the Pashtun who took revenge after 100 years said, I took it too quickly. So this revenge pushed. Generation after generation.
Oh, okay.
It lasts. And Pashtuns have a social code called Pashtun Wali, the way of the Pashtun, where revenge is a critical portion. For the most important thing with the Pashtuns is honor.
Like the Rajputs.
Yeah. So for them, honor is everything. And to take revenge if you are dishonored, and if the Pashtun does not take revenge, he is considered as Begairat, the man without honor. So he will do anything to take revenge. Time and space doesn't make a difference. If not he, his son, maybe not his, generation after generation. And the territory doesn't have to be Afghanistan, Pakistan. People have taken revenge in Australia. People have taken revenge in the UK.
How?
When they've gone there and they found uska descendant is there.
Damn.
So for the Pashtun, revenge is far more important, not the laws of the country they're in.
Wow.
To defend his honor, it's perfectly normal for him to kill somebody. This was the trait. Of course, things have changed because of modernization, urbanization, they've traveled abroad and things like that. But this is the basic instinct. Other thing about, as revenge is one, there is also this other thing about Melmastia, which is called an hospitality and nanvati of refuge. If an enemy comes to a Pashtun and says, I want refuge, he won't be able to refuse him. He'll have to look after him, give him shelter, give him food, and only when he leaves his territory will you try and kill him.
Okay.
That's why there is so much written about the Pashtuns, but the British, they just couldn't understand. A system which is so out of sync with Western values, where law and order is the most important thing, they couldn't comprehend what are these guys? So wild tribes, all the kind of epithets you can find, because they're not seeing the Pashtun from his perspective. You see, we've had so many invasions in India, but where did they all come through? All the invaders came through Afghanistan, devastating the land before they came to India. So the Afghans, the Pashtuns, have been so used to invasions that they've developed their own mechanisms how to live a hardy life, a very tough life, because of the invasions that they faced. Because invaders came right up to Punjab, some even further down, and then they went back again through Afghanistan, devastating the land.
Okay. Imagine the amount of generational trauma that exists in the modern day Afghan.
Yeah.
The modern day Pashtun.
Yeah.
So if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to TRS Clips for more.